South Africa has long been plagued by crime, fraud, and corruption, which has had a significant impact on the country's economy, society, and political system. While these issues are not unique to South Africa, there has been growing concern about the role that Indians have played in perpetuating these problems in the country. One of the most high-profile cases involving Indians and corruption in South Africa is the Gupta family. Originally from India, the Gupta family rose to prominence in South Africa through their business dealings and political connections. They have been accused of using their influence to secure government contracts and interfered in political appointments. The Gupta family is also alleged to have been involved in money laundering and corruption, with some estimates suggesting that they siphoned off up to 100 billion rand from state-owned enterprises. But the Gupta family is just one example of the wider problem of crime, fraud, and corruption perpetrated by Indians in South Africa. Some Indian businessmen have been accused of engaging in tax evasion, money laundering, and bribery and corruption, which has cost the country billions of rands annually. Tax evasion is the illegal non-payment or underpayment of taxes, and Indian businessmen have been accused of engaging in tax evasion through various means, including under-declaring income, over-declaring expenses, and misrepresenting assets. According to a report by the South African Revenue Service, in the 2018-19 financial year alone, the country lost 42.4 billion rand to tax evasion. Money laundering is the process of disguising the proceeds of illegal activity by transferring them through a legitimate business or financial institution. Indian businessmen have been implicated in numerous money laundering schemes in South Africa, with some estimates suggesting that up to 100 billion rand is laundered annually in the country. Bribery and corruption are widespread problems in South Africa, and Indians have been implicated in several high-profile corruption cases. Indian businessmen have been accused of paying bribes to government officials to secure tenders and contracts. The impact of corruption on the country's economy and society is significant, eroding public trust in government institutions, undermining the rule of law, and contributing to social inequality. Cybercrime is a growing concern in South Africa, with Indians being involved in various types of online fraud, including phishing, identity theft, and hacking. According to a report by the South African Banking Risk Information Centre, in 2020, there were 23,096 incidents of online banking fraud in the country, with losses totaling 763.9 million rand. The impact of crime, fraud, and corruption perpetrated by Indians in South Africa is significant, with estimates suggesting that it costs the country billions of rands annually. The illegal activities of some Indian businessmen have a negative impact on the economy, including reduced foreign investment and the loss of tax revenue. The impact also extends beyond the economy to affect society as a whole, eroding public trust in government institutions, undermining the rule of law, and contributing to social inequality. The political impact of crime, fraud, and corruption perpetrated by Indians in South Africa is significant, with allegations of political interference and corruption at the highest levels of government. The Gupta family, for example, has been accused of using their political connections to gain undue influence and access to government contracts. There are several high-profile cases involving Indians and corruption in South Africa, including the Gupta family, Shabby Shaik, Rajesh Gupta, and Duduzane Suma. Shabby Shaik is a businessman who was convicted of corruption in 2005 for his involvement in securing an arms deal contract for a French company. Shaik was a close associate of former South African President Jacob Zuma, and it was alleged that he paid Zuma bribes in exchange for political favors. Rajesh Gupta, one of the Gupta brothers, is a businessman who has been implicated in several corruption scandals in South Africa, including the infamous state capture scandal, which involved the Gupta family allegedly influencing government appointments and decisions. Duduzane Suma, the son of former President Jacob Zuma, has also been implicated in corruption scandals, including his alleged involvement in the Gupta family's corrupt activities. The impact of crime, fraud, and corruption perpetrated by Indians in South Africa is not limited to financial losses and political instability. It also has social consequences, as corruption contributes to social inequality and erodes public trust in government institutions. In a country where poverty and unemployment are significant challenges, corruption perpetuated by Indians undermines efforts to create a more equitable and just society. There have been efforts to combat corruption in South Africa, including the establishment of the Office of the Public Protector, the Special Investigating Unit, and the Anti-Corruption Task Team. However, these efforts have not been without challenges, including political interference, lack of resources, and a lack of political will to hold corrupt individuals accountable. There have also been calls for greater transparency and accountability in business dealings, including the establishment of a public register of beneficial ownership. This would require companies to disclose the true owners of the business, which would make it more difficult for individuals to hide their involvement in illicit activities. Another approach to addressing the issue of crime, fraud, and corruption perpetrated by Indians in South Africa is to strengthen the country's anti-corruption laws and institutions. This includes providing more resources and training for law enforcement agencies, increasing penalties for corrupt activities, and ensuring that corrupt individuals are held accountable for their actions. It is also important to note that the actions of a few individuals should not be used to stereotype or demonize an entire community. Not all Indians in South Africa are involved in illegal activities, and many are law-abiding citizens who contribute positively to the country's economy and society. However, there is a need for all stakeholders to work together to address the problem of crime, fraud, and corruption in South Africa, and to ensure a more prosperous and equitable future for all its citizens. In conclusion, crime, fraud, and corruption perpetrated by Indians in South Africa have had a significant impact on the country's economy, society, and political system. The illegal activities of some Indian businessmen have cost the country billions of rands annually, and have eroded public trust in government institutions. However, there have been efforts to combat corruption, and there are opportunities for greater transparency and accountability in business dealings. Addressing corruption and other illegal activities requires a multifaceted approach that involves not only law enforcement and government action but also a commitment to transparency, accountability, and ethical business practices by all stakeholders. Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share and subscribe.